Don't spend that penny just yet. Moneybag someone sent coins are worth thousands of dollars, and they might be sitting in your pocket change right now. From rare Lincoln wheat pennies to valuable error coins, collectors are paying big money for the right dates and mistakes. In this video, I'll show you the exact pennies you should be looking for. One could change your life. One such example comes from the year 1988, when an ordinary-looking United States 1-cent penny left the mint with an extraordinary mistake. That tiny copper-colored coin, if it bears the right error, could be worth anywhere from $44,500 to as much as $161,000. The Lincoln cent has been an American staple since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor President Abraham Lincoln on the 100th anniversary of his birth. By 1988, the coin had already gone through several design modifications, with the familiar image of Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Billions of pennies rolled out of the mint every year, and to most people they were all exactly the same. But in 1988, something unusual happened. Certain pennies struck that year carried an error so subtle that it could easily be missed if you weren't looking closely. But for those who knew what to look for, it was a discovery worth a small fortune. Errors in coins occur for many reasons. Dies can wear out, mint marks can be mispunched, or design elements can be transferred incorrectly. In the case of the 1988 penny, collectors began to notice that some coins had design elements that didn't belong to that year. On closer inspection, experts found that some 1988 cents had a reverse design intended for a later year, essentially a transitional error. Imagine the shock of finding out that the mint accidentally paired an obverse die from 1988 with a reverse die from 1989, creating a coin that should never have existed. Now picture yourself at home, casually going through a handful of change. You pull out a 1988 penny. It looks like any other, worn, brownish, with Lincoln's profile on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. But as you tilt it under the light, you notice something odd. The details of the reverse look slightly different from what you remember. Maybe the designer's initials, maybe the way the memorial lines appear. You lean in closer, compare it to another penny, and suddenly realize you might be holding one of those rare error coins. Your pulse quickens, your hands shake. Could it really be worth that much? Yes, if it's the right kind of 1988 error. Collectors have paid anywhere from $44,500 to a jaw-dropping $161,000 for it. The beauty of these discoveries lies in their rarity. Out of the billions of pennies minted in 1988, only a tiny fraction carry the transitional error. That's what makes them so valuable: scarcity. The overwhelming majority of 1988 pennies are just 1 cent, destined to be spent and forgotten. But those rare few are something else entirely. They're treasures hiding in plain sight, waiting to be noticed. And for the person lucky enough to find one, it's like winning the lottery. Imagine the scene at an auction. A rare 1988 transitional error penny is brought out, encased in a protective slab by a grading company, gleaming under the lights. The auctioneer begins with a modest opening bid. Collectors in the room know exactly what they're looking at. A mistake so rare that very few people on Earth can own one. The bidding climbs quickly. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. The tension in the room grows. Then the bids push past 100,000, and when the hammer finally falls, the coin has sold for an incredible $161,000. Gasps fill the room. That single penny, worth 1 cent to most people, has just changed someone's life. There's something almost poetic about this. A coin designed to be nearly worthless in day-to-day life suddenly becomes priceless because of its imperfection. The mint did not intend for this coin to exist. It was an accident, an error, a slip in the meticulous process of coin production. And yet, that accident transformed a penny into a treasure worth more than a new car, more than a house in some places. It's a reminder that perfection isn't always the goal. Sometimes the flaws are what make something extraordinary. For collectors, owning a 1988 penny error is like holding history in their hands. It's proof of how the smallest mistake can ripple through time and become legendary. It tells a story not just about the coin itself, but about the process, the mint, and the human element behind machines. No system is perfect, and those imperfections can become treasures. The thrill comes not just from the value, but from the hunt. Because who knows where these coins are hiding? One might still be sitting in circulation today, tucked in a piggy bank, or rattling around in an old jar of change. Think about the feeling of finding one yourself. You take a penny to the local coin dealer, or maybe you send it off to be graded. Weeks later, the results come back. It's the rare 1988 error. The excitement, the disbelief, the moment when you realize your 1 cent is now worth tens of thousands of dollars. That's the dream that keeps collectors searching, inspecting, and holding on to every 1988 penny they come across. The story of the 1988 era penny is more than just numbers. It's about perspective. It teaches us not to overlook the small things, because sometimes the most insignificant object can carry immense value. A coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the street can, in rare cases, be worth up to $161,000. It makes you wonder how many treasures have slipped through unnoticed, how many fortunes have been spent as simple change, and how many people walked past pennies that could have changed their lives forever. The power of this coin lies in its mystery. No one knows exactly how many of these errors exist. That uncertainty fuels the chase. Collectors will always wonder if the next roll of pennies they open, the next handful of change they sort through, might reveal the elusive treasure. The legend grows with each discovery, each auction, each story of a lucky finder who turned 1 cent into 6 figures. So the next time you see a penny, especially one from 1988, don't dismiss it. Look closely. Hold it up to the light. Compare it to another penny. Because that coin in your hand might be far more than just pocket change. It might be one of the rare transitional errors, worth anywhere between $44,500 and $161,000. Imagine telling your friends and family that you found a penny worth more than most people's annual salary. Imagine the shock, the amazement, the disbelief on their faces. That story alone would be priceless, even before you ever sold the coin. This is why the world of coin collecting continues to captivate people across generations. It's not just about metal or history or value. It's about the thrill of discovery, the chance that the next coin you touch might be extraordinary. The 1988 penny error is a perfect example of this. It shows us that even the smallest things can hold the greatest surprises. It teaches us that mistakes aren't always failures. They can be miracles. And for anyone listening right now, remember this. Treasures don't always come in the form of gold bars, sparkling jewels, or ancient artifacts. Sometimes treasure comes in the form of a penny that carries within it a mistake so rare, so unexpected, that it transforms into a fortune. The 1988 US 1 cent penny error is living proof of that. And it might just be sitting in your pocket, waiting for you to discover it. Every day in the United States, pennies pass through millions of hands without much thought. People use them to pay exact change, toss them into jars, or leave them behind at convenience stores. The 1 cent coin has long been considered so ordinary that many people barely notice it. But what if one of those tiny copper-colored coins sitting quietly in a pocket or purse wasn't ordinary at all? What if a penny from 1999 could actually be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars? This isn't just imagination. Certain error pennies from 1999 have stunned collectors and auction houses alike, fetching prices ranging from $40,000 to an unbelievable $122,000. And the story behind them is as thrilling as any treasure hunt. To understand why a simple penny could be worth so much, you have to step back and look at how coins are made. The United States Mint has struck billions of pennies since the early 20th century. By 1999, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 90 years, carrying Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was the same design Americans had become used to seeing every day since 1959. But with so many coins being minted, small mistakes, sometimes so subtle they go unnoticed for years, can slip through the cracks. These mistakes, called mint errors, are what transform a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1999 penny error lies in its rarity. Transitional errors, doubled dies, and misplaced design elements are some of the most dramatic examples. Collectors began noticing that certain 1999 pennies didn't look quite right. At first glance, they seemed normal. Lincoln's familiar profile on one side, the memorial on the other. But when studied under magnification, the differences became clear. Some carried doubled lettering, some showed details misaligned, and in very rare cases, transitional features appeared that should not have been there at all. These small, almost invisible imperfections are what gave birth to the legend of the 1999 penny error. Imagine the excitement of being the person who discovers one. You're sorting through pocket change after buying a cup of coffee. A penny dated 1999 catches your eye, but you notice the letters on the obverse look doubled. Or maybe the designer's initials appear unusual, different from other pennies you've seen. You set it aside, wondering if it's just your imagination. But later, after a little research or a trip to a local coin shop, you realize what you've stumbled upon. That little coin, once worth just 1 cent, could be valued anywhere between $40,000 and $122,000 depending on the condition and exact type of error. The thought makes your heart race. What you almost spent without a second thought could pay for a car, a down payment on a house, or an entire college tuition. Collectors and experts understand how monumental this is. Out of billions of pennies minted in 1999, only a tiny fraction carry the error that makes them so valuable. That scarcity is what fuels the demand. It isn't just about owning a coin. It's about owning a piece of minting history, something that shouldn't exist but somehow slipped into circulation. This rarity drives competitive bidding at auctions, where serious collectors battle fiercely to add one of these coins to their collections. Picture an auction hall. The room is buzzing as the rare 1999 penny error is unveiled. Encased in a protective slab, it gleams under the lights. The auctioneer begins the bidding, and hands shoot up immediately. The numbers climb quickly. 10,000, then 20, then 50. The energy is electric. Collectors know exactly how rare this coin is, and they're not willing to let it slip away. When the bidding finally slows and the hammer comes down, the final price has soared past $100,000, with the winning bid recorded at $122,000. The audience gasps, and applause ripples through the room. Everyone understands they've just witnessed history, 1 cent transformed into a six-figure prize. This is the allure of error coins. They are accidents that become legends. The mint did not set out to create these rare pieces. They are born from imperfections, from dies that weren't aligned correctly, from engravings that were altered or mismatched. But in those mistakes lies beauty and immense value. The 1999 penny error is a perfect reminder that flaws aren't always negative. Sometimes they are what makes something priceless. What makes the story even more fascinating is the possibility that some of these rare coins are still out there, hidden in plain sight. They could be sitting in a jar of change on a dresser, tucked away in a box in the attic, or resting in the bottom of a purse. With billions of pennies produced in 1999, finding one of the rare error coins is like finding a needle in a haystack, but that needle could change your life. This sense of mystery and potential discovery is what keeps collectors and treasure hunters searching. Think of the thrill of being that person. You hand over your coin to a grading company, waiting weeks for the results. When the envelope arrives, you tear it open to discover the confirmation. Your 1999 penny is indeed the rare error. Suddenly, you're holding a ticket to a small fortune. You share the news with family and friends, and at first, they don't believe you. How could a penny be worth that much? But once they see the proof, the disbelief turns to amazement. That tiny coin you once thought was worthless has become one of your greatest assets. This story also serves as a lesson in perspective. How many times have we ignored pennies, left them lying on sidewalks, or tossed them aside? We dismiss them because they seem insignificant. But the 1999 penny error proves that even the smallest things can carry enormous value. It challenges us to look closer, to pay attention, and to remember that sometimes the most ordinary object can hold extraordinary secrets. The fascination with these coins isn't just about money, though that certainly plays a role. It's about the story. Every rare 1999 penny error tells a tale of chance, of imperfection, and of discovery. Collectors don't just buy metal, they buy the history, the rarity, and the thrill of owning something so few people will ever see. Each coin becomes a conversation piece, a treasure, a link to a moment in minting history when things didn't go exactly as planned. What's even more exciting is that these errors are often uncovered by ordinary people, not just seasoned collectors. Someone cleaning out a desk drawer might stumble upon one. A child sorting through a piggy bank might unknowingly hold one of the rarest pennies in circulation. It's this possibility that keeps the legend alive. The dream that the next coin you find could be worth tens of thousands of dollars is powerful. It sparks curiosity, excitement, and hope. So the next time you receive a penny, especially one from 1999, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Hold it up to the light. Compare it to another coin. Look at the details closely, because those details could be the difference between 1 cent and $122,000. It's a staggering thought, isn't it? That something so small could hold such incredible potential. The 1999 penny error is proof that treasures don't always come in the form of glittering jewels or piles of gold. Sometimes, treasure comes in the form of a coin most people ignore. And while the majority of 1999 pennies will always be worth just 1 cent, the rare few with errors are a reminder that value is often hidden where we least expect it. They inspire us to keep searching, to never overlook the little things, and to remember that even the smallest mistake can create a masterpiece. So maybe it's time to go through that jar of change sitting at home. Maybe it's time to check the bottom of that purse, the old drawer in the kitchen, or the collection of coins in a forgotten box. Because who knows? The next fortune could be hiding there, in the form of a 1999 penny worth $40,000 to $122,000. And if you're the one to find it, your life might never be the same again. Most people think of the penny as the least valuable coin in the United States, a piece of currency so small that many of us don't even bother to pick it up when we see it lying on the sidewalk. It jingles around in pockets, sits at the bottom of purses, and piles up in jars that never seem to get emptied. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, if it happens to be from 2006 and struck with the right kind of error, could actually be worth more than some people's entire yearly income? Yes, a coin worth just 1 cent on its face could be hiding a shocking secret. In fact, certain error varieties of the 2006 US 1 cent penny have been valued anywhere from $35,000 to as high as $110,000. Suddenly, that tiny copper coin doesn't seem so small anymore. To understand why this penny carries such an extraordinary value, let's first step back and appreciate where the coin comes from. By 2006, the Lincoln cent had already been a staple of American currency for nearly a century. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the penny featuring his profile had become one of the most recognizable coins in the world. From the early wheat penny design to the more modern Lincoln Memorial reverse, the coin has undergone changes over the decades. And in 2006, it was business as usual at the U.S. Mint, billions of pennies rolling off the presses, most destined to live out their lives as ordinary change. But as every collector knows, the mint is not perfect. Machines make mistakes, dies wear down, and occasionally human oversight lets something unusual slip through. That's exactly what happened in 2006. Certain pennies from that year were struck with errors so unusual that they transformed from common change into highly sought-after rarities. These error coins were quickly identified by the numismatic community, and the buzz spread rapidly. What seemed to be a common penny could, under the right circumstances, fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. The types of errors that can occur vary widely, but among the 2006 pennies, collectors have found dramatic strike misalignments, double dies, off-center strikes, and transitional anomalies that should never have existed in the first place. Imagine holding a penny in your hand where Lincoln's face looks distorted, shifted, or doubled. Or flip the coin over and see that the Lincoln Memorial appears off-balance, skewed, or cut off. These errors aren't just quirky, they're rare, and rarity drives value in the world of coins. That's why some of these mistakes have turned a simple penny into a coin worth between $35,000 and $110,000. Picture this for a moment. You're emptying your pockets at the end of the day, tossing your loose change onto the counter. You notice a 2006 penny. Maybe it's a bit shiny, maybe a bit worn. You almost throw it in with the rest of the coins in your jar. But something makes you pause. You tilt it under the light, and suddenly you notice something is wrong with the design. Lincoln's profile looks slightly doubled, almost like a ghost image. Or perhaps the memorial on the reverse isn't perfectly aligned. Your heart skips a beat. Could it really be one of the legendary 2006 error pennies? If it is, you're not just holding a cent, you're holding a ticket worth as much as $110,000. The auction houses love these stories. Collectors gather around as one of these error coins comes up for bidding, encapsulated in a plastic slab by a major grading service, certified and authenticated. The auctioneer announces it. The room buzzes with anticipation, and the bidding begins. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Hands shoot up, phones buzz with online bids, and the number keeps climbing. The tension is palpable. When the hammer finally falls, the coin has sold for $95,000, or maybe even a record-breaking $110,000. For a penny, a coin people walk past every single day. The audience gasps, the lucky bidder smiles with satisfaction, and somewhere in the crowd, people wonder if they too might have a treasure hidden in plain sight. What makes this so compelling isn't just the value, but the mystery. No one knows exactly how many of these error pennies from 2006 are out there. Maybe only a handful, maybe more hiding in drawers, coffee cans, or coin rolls at banks. The uncertainty fuels the hunt. Every 2006 penny people come across suddenly becomes worth a second look. Collectors and treasure hunters alike start searching through their change, hoping to find that golden, copper ticket. And think about the emotions involved in such a discovery. The thrill of holding something ordinary, realizing it's extraordinary. The disbelief when a dealer confirms what you've found. The anticipation of sending it off to be graded, waiting for weeks, and finally getting the results. And then the overwhelming excitement when you learn that the penny you pulled out of your pocket could be worth $35,000, $50,000, or even as much as $110,000. That kind of story spreads fast, inspiring others to look more carefully at their own coins. But beyond the money, these coins tell a story about history, craftsmanship, and imperfection. The mint works tirelessly to produce flawless coins, but perfection is impossible. And in those rare moments when mistakes occur, history is made. The 2006 error penny stands as proof of this. A tiny misstep in the production process created a coin that shouldn't exist. And that mistake turned into a masterpiece. For collectors, these coins aren't just currency. They're works of art, anomalies frozen in time, symbols of how chance can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Now, let's take a moment to imagine. Right now, somewhere in the United States, maybe even in your home, one of these rare 2006 pennies could be hiding. It could be sitting in a jar that hasn't been touched in years, slipped between couch cushions, or stashed away in an old wallet. Someone might unknowingly spend it at the grocery store tomorrow, and it could fall into the hands of someone who recognizes its true worth. The possibility is thrilling, and that's why collectors never stop searching. Every single one of these rare coins tells its own story. Some were discovered by experienced collectors meticulously searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. Others were found by sheer luck, by people who had no idea what they were holding until curiosity led them to look closer. Imagine the surprise of someone who finds out that the penny they've kept as pocket change for months is worth as much as a luxury car. Those are the kinds of stories that keep the excitement alive. The 2006 error penny reminds us not to dismiss the little things. The penny may be small, but its potential is massive. It reminds us that sometimes the most valuable treasures are the ones hiding in plain sight, overlooked and underestimated. And it teaches us that mistakes are not always bad. In fact, sometimes they're what makes something priceless. So the next time you see a penny, especially one minted in 2006, don't ignore it. Look closely. Hold it up to the light, study the details, and compare it to another coin. Because you never know. That tiny coin in your hand might be one of the rarest and most valuable error coins of its year. And if it is, you could be holding a fortune, anywhere from $35,000 to $110,000. Imagine the look on your friends' faces when you tell them that a penny from your pocket changed your life. That's not just money. That's a story, a legend, a piece of history. That's the magic of numismatics. That's why collectors dedicate their lives to studying coins, searching tirelessly, and never giving up the hunt. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the metal, it's about the possibility. And the 2006 US 1-cent penny error is living proof that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprises. Most people glance at a penny and barely think twice about it. It's the smallest coin in American circulation, often overlooked, dropped into jars, and forgotten in drawers. But what if I told you that a penny from 2010, one of the most recent issues of the United States 1-cent coin, could actually be worth more than a brand new car, more than a year's salary, or even a down payment on a house? That's right, because of rare errors that slipped past the strict minting process, some 2010 US 1-cent pennies have been discovered to be worth staggering amounts of money, selling at auctions and in private sales for anywhere from $32,000 to as much as $102,000. To understand how such a small, ordinary-looking coin could command such a massive price, we have to take a step back into the history of the penny and what was happening at the U.S. Mint in 2010. This was a fascinating period for the Lincoln cent. In 2009, to celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the 100th anniversary of the Lincoln cent, the U.S. Mint released 4 special reverse designs, each depicting different scenes from Lincoln's life. These coins were collected eagerly by the public, sparking renewed interest in the penny. Then, in 2010, the Mint unveiled a brand new reverse design, one that featured a Union shield with 13 vertical stripes and a horizontal banner across the top inscribed with the words E Pluribus Unum. This new design represented the strength and unity of the nation, and it marked the beginning of a new chapter for the penny. Billions of 2010 pennies were struck with the new Union shield reverse. On the obverse, the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln by Victor David Brenner remained unchanged. To the average person, every 2010 penny looked exactly alike. But in reality, not all of them were perfect. Within the massive production runs, errors crept in, tiny mistakes during the minting process that created coins unlike any other. These errors are what transformed a simple 1-cent coin into something worth tens of thousands of dollars. Collectors and experts began noticing several varieties of errors in 2010 pennies. Some had double dies, where the design elements appear duplicated because the die shifted slightly during the striking process. On these coins, you might see doubled lettering in the motto, "In God We Trust," or extra outlines around Lincoln's profile, or even unusual distortions in the Union shield on the reverse. Others showed die cracks, filled letters, or off-center strikes that gave the coins a unique and unmistakable appearance. Then there were transitional planchet errors, where a penny was mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another coin, creating a rare hybrid worth a fortune. Now imagine this scenario. You're going through your change from a grocery store, and you spot a shiny 2010 penny. You almost toss it aside without a second thought. But something about it catches your eye. Maybe the shield looks off, or the letters seem thicker, or there's a faint doubling in the words. You hold it closer, tilt it under the light, and your heart starts to race. Could this be one of those rare errors you've heard about? If it is, you're not just holding a penny, you're holding a small fortune. Because while most 2010 pennies will never be worth more than their face value, the rare errors have fetched anywhere between $32,000 and $102,000 at auctions. Picture the excitement of a collector who finds one of these coins, sends it off to a grading service, and receives the results. A confirmed 2010 error penny in mint state condition. That coin, which cost them a single cent, is now valued in the tens of thousands. The moment they realize that it's life-changing, suddenly, every roll of pennies, every handful of change, becomes a treasure hunt filled with possibility. At T-coin shows and auctions, stories of these discoveries spread like wildfire. One collector talks about how he found his rare 2010 error in a box of uncirculated rolls he bought from the bank. Another recounts spotting unusual doubling on a coin he almost spent at a gas station. The buzz grows, and soon collectors everywhere are on the lookout for the elusive 2010 penny errors. Dealers bring them to auction, where the bidding wars are nothing short of electric. The auctioneer starts low, but hands shoot up quickly. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. The numbers climb as bidders battle for ownership of one of the rarest modern error pennies. The crowd watches with anticipation as the price surges past $50,000, then $80,000 until finally, the hammer falls at a staggering $102,000. Applause fills the room, and the winner walks away with not just a coin, but a piece of numismatic history. What makes this story so captivating is the contrast between value and perception. To most people, A penny is hardly worth bending down to pick up from the ground. It's a coin that often gets dismissed as trivial, even a nuisance. Yet within that same denomination lies the possibility of extraordinary wealth. It challenges our assumptions and forces us to see everyday objects in a new light. How many 2010 pennies have been spent without anyone realizing their true worth? How many treasures are still hidden in piggy banks, coin jars, or cash registers across the country? This mystery adds to the allure. No one knows exactly how many of these 2010-era pennies exist. The number is small enough to make them incredibly rare, but large enough that they occasionally surface, reigniting excitement in the collecting community. That uncertainty keeps the hunt alive, driving collectors to examine every penny they encounter, hoping to stumble upon the next big find. Think about the feeling of being the one who uncovers it. You're holding what seems like a normal coin, but when you realize what it is, your perspective shifts instantly. That coin you thought was pocket change is suddenly worth as much as $32,000 on the low end, and possibly up to $102,000. You can feel the weight of history, rarity, and value in your hand. You're no longer just an ordinary person with a penny. You're part of a select group of people who've discovered one of the rarest error coins of modern times. For collectors, the thrill isn't just in owning these coins, it's in the chase. The 2010 penny errors remind us that modern coins are every bit as exciting to collect as older ones. Many assume that valuable coins are always from the 1800s or early 1900s, but that's not the case. Modern minting mistakes can create rarities that rival the classics in both intrigue and value. And because they're so recent, there's always the chance of finding one in circulation, which makes the dream accessible to anyone. It's not just about money, though that certainly adds to the excitement. It's also about the story. Each error coin carries a tale of how it came to be. A misaligned die, a slipped planchet, an overlooked detail at the mint. These stories humanize the minting process, reminding us that even with advanced technology, perfection is elusive. The imperfections become treasures, and collectors cherish them not just for their monetary value, but for the narrative they embody. Imagine the conversation piece one of these coins would be. You show it to a friend, and at first they shrug. It's just a penny. Then you explain the error, the rarity, the fact that it's sold at auction for $102,000. Their jaw drops. The disbelief on their face turns into awe. Suddenly, that tiny coin becomes the most fascinating object in the room. It's a powerful reminder of how perception changes when value is revealed. The 2010 US 1-cent penny error is proof that treasures don't always come in glittering packages. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, disguised as everyday objects we overlook. It's a coin that teaches us to pay attention, to look closely, and to never underestimate the little things. Because that little penny, with the right mistake, can change everything. So the next time you come across a 2010 penny, don't just toss it into your change jar. Hold it up to the light, examine it carefully. Look at the shield, the lettering, Lincoln's profile. Because in that moment, you might just discover a coin that's worth far more than you ever imagined. A coin that could fetch anywhere between $32,000 and $102,000. And if you're lucky enough to find one, you'll know what so many collectors already do. Sometimes the greatest treasures come in the smallest, most unexpected forms.